Incremental readings. In this video, I'm going to cover the fact that in incremental reading, you build knowledge, not a stored information. In other words, it's not a second brain thing. It's a learning method or a collection of techniques. Let's dig into that in detail. So what's the old way? You read the book cover to cover, you get some key ideas that will stick, and 3 or 4, and the absolute rest is forgotten. Perhaps you created isolated flashcards, but those are disconnected facts, like the golden nuggets of that book, and that's about it. Then this process leads to isolated information. You focus on rote memorization, so just on exposure and repetitions, you will memorize it, which is fragile and easily forgotten for interference and so on. So we would simplify that all of this is like being a data janitor. You collect and you store. That's it. What's the new way? Building knowledge. The core philosophy. True knowledge isn't a list of facts, but the rich, interconnected like a network, model of a subject in your mind. Incremental reading is an active and dynamic process that is constructing this mental model. And it's like in a sculpture, that is analogy. You start with a block, the raw material, or could be, I don't know, piece of wood, let's say, which will be the article, and then you creatively shape, incrementally, to have a face or whatever you want to do on the sculpture, right? This will be more or less your personal understanding. How you shape it. That for me now, this has a face of, I don't know, an important person in history. Then, the knowledge sculpting process. You import, you bring new material, the raw material. Can be books, notes, chapters, videos, podcasts, whatever. Then you process all of this. You make extra key sentences or ideas. You start shaping that. You start shaping the block to make it your own. And that makes sense. When you see that, oh yeah, that's a face, that's a bust, or that's a full-fledged body of a person. You do deconstruct. You break down extracts into specific flashcards, being Q&A, closulations, and whatever. It's adding the fine details like the eyes, the iris, and all of this. And then you repeat. Supermemo schedules everything. The reading, so everything. Once you import everything here, then it's scheduled, not just a spaced repetition. Then, I'm not going to go to details because we mentioned this in many other videos. Then, when building knowledge, context is king, it's boss. Items are never truly isolated from their source because you have the knowledge tree. This will be true in Anki and places that you only have the flashcard. You don't have the entire learning flow on that app. So the original article, let's say the forest, is reviewed periodically, reminding you of the overall context. I have the full article, a section of that article, perhaps another section, another extract more smaller, and a few flashcards I already did in parallel. So I'm seeing content as I am still going through the article because I'm reading it non-linearly. Even if I do, and even if you stretch it, even if I go linearly at the beginning, I will have stuff in parallel anyways. Not ahead of time, but hey, I have something, let's say it's the second page, I have content from the first page that I already extracted, created flashcards and all of that. Then, the extract provides a crucial middle ground, linking detailed items back to main ideas. So I'm exposed to some flashcard I already did, then an extract and the entire thing, so I have this interleaving. This is very different that if I read the entire thing once, and then I want to do the flashcards. So you trace any QA item, flashcard, back to its source article within a single click, like this. Do you see I could, if I want, I know where this comes from. I can go there. Boom. Comes from here. Awesome. Then, let's continue. Second part. An active building knowledge is an active and creative process. That's why, in part, it's a science, but in another part, is also an art. You're not just a passive consumer. You are an active creator. You create your own stuff for yourself. And what you will create will be different of what I create, even if we read the same sources. You decide what is important enough to extract, what is important enough to make a flashcard, or what is even interesting enough to just importing to begin with in your collection. You formulate the final questions or closulations with your own word, your own touch, your own style, because any art has styles. Like in painting, Picasso has his own style, and so on, right? Okay, so the act of writing and rephrasing as a side effect, it's not that it's forcing, oh no, I'm going to force myself. No, as a side effect, it creates a much deeper level of understanding than passive reading could ever do. Then, in this process, transforms someone else's knowledge, someone else's information that you read, into your own knowledge. Now, this someone else's could include AI. You ask AI, what is this thing? What is the mitochondria? And then you make it your own, and it becomes your knowledge. I just don't rote memorize information. You have the jigsaw analogy. So very shortly, it's like you have a box full of disconnected puzzle pieces. You have the full data, but not the big picture. So I have all of the data in many different places, but this puzzle is about what? Is there an animal? It's a painting? What is in the puzzle, right? In the jigsaw puzzle. So you build this knowledge with incremental reading. So you will build a big picture incrementally, and hey, now I cannot get it. The information was already there. I'm just understanding it, processing it, makes sense, make it my own, and now it becomes knowledge. And hey, now this puzzle has this. Oh, it was a dog, or whatever. So incremental reading doesn't just hand you the pieces. It guides you in seeing how they fit together from a coherent, holistic picture that stays in your memory. So you don't just memorize the pieces, it goes there and here and there. It's everything connected makes sense. Like you could learn what's a neuron, what's a synapses, but then put all of these together and so on. I don't want to extend with examples. Then, from information to insight, incremental reading fosters cross-disciplinary connections. Perhaps I start with neuroscience or anatomy, brain anatomy. Oh yeah, the regions of the brain, but hey, then the dendritic growth of neurons, hey, this exists in nature in some other domains. That hey, why this is occurs? Could be then some mathematical thing, and then you draw some conclusions from neuroscience to mathematics or whatever. Cross-disciplinary connections. Because you review material from many different subjects. Could be anything, programming, history, economics, biomedicine, whatever. An interleaved fashion brain, and this interleaved fashion, your brain starts to make spontaneous connections. It's kind of sad that it's not that you become more intelligent. It's kind of arbitrary that you just read and, oh, eureka, aha. The aha moment is, oh shoot, it has been like my subconscious who did the effort, not me, right? So I don't take the full credit. Then, this is how the true insight is born. You see how a concept from one field applies to another. Literally, or like more metaphorically, but this is still very useful. If you have just memorized trivia questions, you won't be able to use analogies with all of that as a rule of thumb. You move beyond just knowing facts to understanding timeless principles. You can reuse, transform, replace, translate all of this knowledge because it makes sense and it's interconnected in the network. That's why you build knowledge. You don't build a second brain, that you just store information. So as a recap, let's see more or less the difference. The knowledge is an architect, more or less. I remember the old way that was the data janitor. That, hey, I just gather information, I leave it as information. It's not knowledge. I haven't internalized that. I haven't understood that. I haven't made it my own. I haven't did the sculpture. It's still a brick, not the sculpture. So, storing information, like the janitor, it's passive, creates isolated facts, it's fragile, it's short-term memory, like many users of secondary brain, they forget most of what they do because they rely on retrieving this information, not on knowing this information. They have the illusion that, oh, because it's interconnected in the app, it will be my brain. No, because you need to remember that in order to use it. And they focus on the what. Unlike the knowledge architect, the incremental reader, it will be active and creative instead of passive and consumptive. It's not just I consume the stuff. I read, like a novel, Harry Potter, as entertainment. No. It's active and creative. Instead of isolated facts in my brain, even if they are connected in the app, it will be interconnected model in my brain. And this will be the difference of a person who can build solutions, solve problems, make something new, and the other person that could only recall. Yeah, ask me questions and I will be able to recall. So I can go to any TV show and get some money on trivia questions. That's about it. Then the memory is short-term and fragile. The opposite is long-term and durable and good quality. And instead of focusing on what, an incremental reader will focus on why and how. And those two go more in the metacognition. That's a big difference. So, the takeaway. Incremental reading is a tool that empowers you to become a knowledge architect, not a data or information janitor. Massive difference. If you want to learn for real, use incremental reading. If you just want to retrieve information, use a second brain. Let me know your opinion. See you incrementally.